Welcome to Immigration Review, your weekly source for immigration case law updates and insights. I'm your host, Kevin A. Gregg, back again to review the week's precedential immigration cases, rummaging through the decisions so you don't have to. This podcast is sponsored by Kurzban, Tetzeli, and Pratt, also known as KKTP, a law firm where I'm also a partner. Whether you are facing an immigration obstacle, a serious injury, or a legal issue in your business, KKTP will aggressively protect your best interests. This podcast is also sponsored by DocketWise, an all-in-one immigration forms and case management solution trusted by thousands of immigration lawyers across the U.S. I really like DocketWise. It makes immigration applications easy by allowing the clients to provide information through simple online questionnaires that are shareable by text or email and available in multiple languages. Not only that, DocketWise provides a comprehensive group of case management features, including invoicing and calendaring, secure messaging, task management, and a lot more. You can learn all about DocketWise and receive a 10% discount on your subscription by heading to docketwise.com/immigration-review, so they know we sent you. And as always, this show does not constitute legal advice and has no bias other than to keep you up to date and to enable you, my dear colleagues, to excel in court. So, without further ado, let's start the review. On this special episode, I sat down with Raquel Gomes and Ruby Powers to talk all about Stafi, virtual assistants, and the immigration attorneys who love them. Hint, hint, it's Ruby. Raquel Gomes is the founder and CEO of Stafi, and she's dedicated to empowering law firms with virtual staffing solutions. Raised in Brazil, she defied societal norms, prioritizing both career success and family happiness. With a background in psychology and an MBA, Raquel leverages her corporate experience to support women and business owners worldwide to achieve work-life balance through Stafi. Ruby L. Powers is a board-certified immigration and nationality law attorney, the founder of Powers Law Group, and has nearly 2 decades of experience specializing in various immigration law areas. You probably know her, or at least know of her. Besides her law practice, Ruby is an accomplished author, speaker, and educator, known for her book on immigration law practice management, her upcoming book, Power Up Your Practice, and her contributions as an adjunct professor at South Texas College of Law Houston and a business instructor at Houston Community College. And to be honest with you, just being an immigration attorney in Texas is a career accomplishment. Both sat down with me during the 3rd week of March to talk shop. And wouldn't you know it, we recorded it. Welcome to another special episode of Immigration Review. I'm your host, Kevin A. Gregg. Not live, as my podcast episodes are never live, as you guys know. Tonight I'm with Ruby Powers, who might have the best name in all of immigration law, a very respected immigration attorney who I've never met personally, but I want to meet personally soon, and I'm sure our paths will cross. So, hello, Ruby Powers.
Hi, Kevin, Greg. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
It's an honor to be with you today.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's definitely it's nice to be with you. And I'm also here with Raquel Gomes, who is the CEO of Stafi, and we're here to talk about Stafi tonight and your experience with Stafi. How are you doing, Raquel?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Raquel, I do know. Raquel and I have met at many a conference, and we've come to enjoy each other's company as, to be honest with you, I just see her in action at these conferences in the vendor room. She must know half of the immigration bar at this point. The woman doesn't stop. Is that true or false, Raquel?
It is true. I'm a pretty active person.
with her team. It's nice to have you both here. We're spanning the globe. Well, we're spanning the country tonight. I'm in California. Raquel, you're in Miami. Ruby, you're based in Texas, right?
That's right. Houston, Texas.
Before we went live today, we were talking about something that happened to Texas today. What were you talking about, Ruby?
We were talking about the SB4 insanity and how it seems to change every 12 hours. And so I've given up on sending news blasts to my staff, my clients, and just how it's important to see the precedent that they're going to set, because they don't seem to be wanting to use precedent right now. So.
As we speak, I think the lay of the land is that the Supreme Court said that Texas can enforce its law while it decides whether it's constitutional, but the Fifth Circuit isn't so sure that Texas can enforce it, even though the Supreme Court said it can. Is that
I think
clear?
that's a good summary. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really in the weeds into like trying to calm the community and working with the consulates and the constables and all of that. But yeah, there's a lot on the technical legal side and then also on the fear factor and trying to empower people.
Well, we'll see what ultimately happens. I can only imagine it's going to be another end of June United States v. Texas decision on immigration, literally the same
Yeah.
as last year.
Yeah.
But enough of that. It's not why we're here. Ruby, I know a lot about you from social media, your very active presence. You seem like an excellent attorney. You've got an amazing reputation in the immigration bar, but could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Oh, well, thanks. Well, my mom was born to American missionaries in Mexico, so I think that had a big impact because I grew up in the Midwest or for a little bit, and then they kept moving us around because they couldn't figure out where my parents both fit in. So we ended up landing in San Antonio, Texas, and that had a big impact on me, the sort of the binational upbringing. And I later lived in other countries like Belgium and Spain and Mexico and decided to be an immigration attorney because it was the best way I could help individuals here in the United States use my international cultural understanding, work in human rights and law, and having my own business, I could work in business. So, sort of like a good culmination of everything. And my husband's originally from Turkey. And I think I've got relatives from multiple countries. So I'm the resident immigration attorney for the family. And yeah, I started my firm 14 years ago. I'm board certified and I speak a couple languages and just wrote a book about law practice management 5 years ago. And I'm working on a second one called Power Up Your Practice. And also have a podcast called Power Up Your Practice. So those are just a few things about me.
That's pretty cool. That is one of the main ways that I know about you is because of your focus on law firm management, which is very, very important. It's something that I think every immigration attorney I know, except maybe you, because you literally have a podcast about it, could benefit could benefit from, right? They don't teach us how to manage law firms in law school, but your job is largely your life, and your job takes up your time. You only have so much time, and if you do things more efficient and better, then you have more life. Is that a good summary of your philosophy?
I think that is. And I think a lot of people ask me how I do everything or do I sleep? And I think it's a combination of trying to be organized, having good systems, and having a good team. But you're right. Yeah, being efficient, you can get more out of life.
Systems and procedures seem to be everything, else there is no point to having staff.
Yeah, no, for sure. You'll
Ru-
just make a big mess if you add people to no systems.
That being said, do you sleep?
It's debatable. I think I can survive on not that much. So I think that's part of, I have a high energy level. I think that's part of my superpower.
Oh. I had John Casravi on a few
Oh,
months
yeah.
ago. I go on his show every month. He came on my show. John, he's like, yeah,
Oh,
I've got all these kids. I only
yeah,
sleep
he's got
like
a lot of little ones.
I sleep like 3 hours a night. I'm always waking up and thinking about new things. I said, John, you're a crazy person. That's the craziest
He's
thing I've ever heard in
great.
my life.
Yeah, we've really gotten closer this last like year. But like always thinking about ideas and how to
Yeah,
improve.
he's got
Yeah.
a lot of ideas. Before we turn to Raquel, I mean, your origin story, if I could shape you as a villain, is similar to a lot of, I think, immigration attorneys in that you have some interest in international affairs of affecting the international world, or some connections to international things, and that's kind of what sparks the immigration interest. But I've never spoken to someone, I don't think, or at least never spoken about what's it like to be the children of missionaries.
Well, that was my grandparents
Oh,
were,
it's your
but
grandparents.
and my mom was born in Mexico and then she lived on a ranch that had no electricity. I don't think it had running water. It didn't have a phone or internet or anything for gazillions of years later. She would just run wild, like she'd be at the top of the what's that thing, the wheel that you pump water.
Windmill?
Windmill, yes. A word I don't use very often.
Right.
She'd be just found at the top of the windmill and then she like would just run. But English was her second language, and she told me she learned about it from Captain Kangaroo.
Not even a human.
That's why I blame not knowing idioms because
No.
mothers. But definitely very strong faith and very strong-willed family, and I the entrepreneurial spirit, and very intercultural. And so I'm very grateful. I'm actually going out into the family ranch in a month, helping out on a nonprofit that we have, continuing like 3 or 4 generations later from my grandparents. And so, no, it's definitely unique upbringing. It definitely brings certain character traits, but definitely looked up to them. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And I try to remind people sometimes, unless you're with our clients as immigration attorneys, unless you're dealing with, someone who was brought here as a child, we're dealing with a rare group of individuals. We're dealing with hustlers, people who, by definition, have left their own countries to come to America for a better life, usually for a better economic situation, also out of fear for a lot of people, but of course, economic reasons are always play the factor. So we're dealing with a subset of the world that has kind of taken itself out of the regular population, and we start thinking that that's how the whole world is, but it's not, right? Those are the people who've come to America.
No, I completely agree. And I guess you could say our job is special because we get to work with people who've had to hustle and
Hustlers.
survive. Yeah.
Which brings us to Raquel Gomes.
Yeah, good transition.
Thank you. No, I've been planning that. I've been planning that for like 45 seconds. You can't see. I was smiling over here because I saw it coming. Where are you from, Raquel?
I am originally from Brazil, and like Ruby, I come from a very religious family with very strong faith. And my dad, I'm a daughter of an entrepreneur and business owner as well. So I was raised in Brazil, and I studied psychology because, like you guys who do immigration, I love working with immigration lawyers because you truly care about the people you work with. You truly want to help them. And then at age 25, I moved to the US and I pursued an MBA in international business. And a little bit about me, I climbed the corporate ladder in the high tech space and telecommunications for the large corporate America. And I was very successful. I became an executive, and I was working a lot, traveling every week. It's funny, I have a picture. I didn't know that my husband took that picture from me when I was 8 months pregnant, and I had 4 computers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was working like a maniac. And then I got to a breaking point that is, I had that mindset that I had to do everything perfectly. I always felt like I have to prove myself. I was successful, but I wasn't happy. And I felt like I had to overwork. I have to work so much to prove my worth, not only to myself and colleagues, my superiors, supervisors. And I came to a breaking point where I had to take a break and step back and get back in touch with my passion. That was originally what took me to study psychology in first place, which was to help others. And I had to do a lot of internal work, worked on my mindset. And when I created Stafi right there, like about 8.5 years ago, Stafi was created to solve a problem that I had, but to help people around the world, business owners who didn't want to sacrifice their lives in the name of success, who wanted to be able to enjoy life, to go on vacations, and see their business growing and flourishing at the same time.
I can't imagine, Raquel, what you would need 4 computers for. 4 computers was 4 different. I mean, what do you? That just seems inefficient. You might need to talk to Ruby, if I'm being honest.
Well, that was the old Raquel. I don't recognize the Raquel anymore. I didn't have assistants. I didn't have anybody. It was myself. Right. And I wanted to be quick and multitask. So I'm building a presentation. I'm answering an email. I had a side business. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always had other businesses at the same time. And then they're right there for me when I grabbed one and did something, put it back, and then the other one was ready to go.
So then what is Stafi, and how does it prevent other people from having to have 4 computers?
Good question. Stafi provides support to law firms. It provides highly qualified virtual staff they're all bilingual, they're in Latin America, with the HR support to alleviate the law firm owner from onboarding the virtual staff, providing the co-management, the continuous management, and the continuous education and training of the virtual staff. We take all of that on to free up the law firm owner from doing all of that themselves and allowing them to step in the role of the CEO that they are, the law firm owner, to be able to think strategy, to grow their business, and to also have free time to, for themselves to enjoy life and their hobbies and their families. So we provide a team that is beyond just the virtual staff that is assigned to you, that could be either a legal assistant, a paralegal, an intake, a receptionist, an executive assistant, a marketing assistant, and so on. So it's beyond that person that is assigned to you full time. We provide a whole HR support through a team of professionals from Stafi's side that will help you, that will provide you all that support to free up your time so that you can do more important things, more strategic things.
Virtual assistants, it's kind of the next frontier. It's a hot thing right now in law until maybe AI takes it all over, and then we're going to have robots hiring attorneys as their virtual staff, but we're not there yet. We have Ruby on tonight because Ruby has been working with you for a while and has many a staffy, and she's the practice management guru. But I know that people listening probably have a lot of questions, and I'm going to try to be that vessel for their questions. My first question is, what is the profile of a staffy virtual assistant? What kind of person is your standard staff member, staffy?
So it's a person who has a degree, who is bilingual, has great English skills, has years of experience working as a professional in their home country. They could be a lawyer. If they are a legal assistant or paralegal, they will have a law degree in their home country. If they're taking on other roles, they will have a degree that has to do with that role they're taking. And it's a person who has to go through our entire vetting and screening process to make sure that they're a good candidate in order to be placed with the law firms. Beyond going through the whole entire vetting and screening process, that takes us about 5 weeks, and only 1% of all of the candidates who apply make it to the final cut. We put them through a 2-week intensive program to get them ready and trained for a US-based law firm. And they have to graduate from that program with a 90% or above in order to stay and to be paired with our clients.
I think one of the fears that immigration and other attorneys have about this kind of thing is that someone who's not in office or somebody who they didn't hire themselves isn't going to be able to mesh with their culture and convey the kind of feel that they want for their law firm. And one of the first things you said was you guys take care of onboarding. How do you take care of onboarding when, of course, you're not the law firm, you're a staffing agency? How does that even work?
So before the staffy rep is assigned to the law firm, we train them on things like, for example, how to show up, what the expectation is from a US-based company. Like working from home is not going for walks or take your dog for a walk anytime you want. Working from home is you have to be in front of your computer besides the time that you're taking a lunch break or the breaks that you have during the day, but you're there, you're available, you're connected the full day from 9 to 6 EST, or if you're Pacific, the 9 to 6 Pacific, we work with the time zones of our clients. We teach them on how to present themselves behind a camera, how to answer the phone properly, how to answer emails, tools such as Microsoft Office. We get them ready culturally for the expectations, how to be proactive, how to be resourceful, how to always think one step ahead, how to provide recaps, like in the morning. Every staffy representative will send you a message or an email with what's their plan for the day. Before the end of the day, they're going to be sending a daily recap of everything they've accomplished the day, things that are pending. So we get them ready to go before we even assign them to you, the law firm. And then after we assign, we help because we have a client success team who works very closely with our clients. Our clients see our client success team as an extension of their business, like their business partners. So we will understand everything that is needed for that person. What is that the person needs to get up to speed the first week, the first 2 weeks on the job, the first month on the job, we'll have a plan, and we'll make sure that our coaches behind the scenes, because we have multiple coaches who work with the staffing representative to make sure they are getting up to speed. And that those regular meetings with the law firm owner or their direct manager will help us define if we're doing a good job and if there's something that needs to be tweaked in order to expedite the onboarding.
I can only imagine it involves serious conversations with the client attorney at the beginning to learn what kind of law firm they have, what kind of things they want and expect. And then once you become an expert in your client law firm, you can plug in staffies, I suppose, as it comes, who are good fits, which is a good segue to Ruby. Ruby, what's been your experience? I mean, how many staffies do staffies? How many staffies do staffaguses? How many staffies do you have,
You're
Ruby?
inventing words.
Well, they invented a word with staffy. It's only, and this is my podcast. It's only right that I could.
So you're allowed to do that. Okay.
How many staffaguses do you have at the moment, Ruby?
I have 7 awesome people.
Yeah, no, we can call them humans. Yeah, you have 7 staffies.
Yeah. I think like it's important to say like what. Yeah, there's different functions. I think that's important to clarify.
Please.
Okay, so I think when people think about a virtual assistant, I think they first think a receptionist or maybe someone who does admin, where they're like maybe doing travel or something like travel organization or something like that. But reality, they're pretty much a qualified person who can do almost anything that the sort of at that level in which you can train them to do. So to give an example, the type of different type of people that functions that Stafi has been able to provide are marketing assistants. I think they have different terms for it, but I basically call it marketing assistant. And then there's receptionists. I think they also call it like intake or something. And then they have, you can have executive assistant, and then there's legal assistants or paralegals. I just use those words interchangeably, but basically legal assistant. So it all started when I had a marketing assistant leave and an in-person one. And I was talking to Stafi and I was like, okay, well, let me try this out. And it took a lot about changing my mentality on how to make a person who normally would be in the office be able to do the job remotely. But so each of these different types of functions have different skill sets, but we've been able to make it work. And in fact, I have like 2 marketing assistants, one for law firm and one for Power Strategy Group. I have 1 executive assistant, we have 1 receptionist plus Staffy Live, and then we have, I think, 3 legal assistants.
I want to get to Staffy Live in a bit, but for now, I mean, what do you say to people who are scared about not having these core employees in the office with them or even in the same country as them? And quite frankly, if Staffy does what they're supposed to do, not even really training them themselves. What do you say to the attorneys who are very uncomfortable with giving up that micromanagement that we are all cursed with?
Well, okay, there's a lot to unpack with that question.
Please.
Okay, well, first of all, I don't think we should micromanage anybody. I think we should have the right team member in the first place, and they should enjoy and be aligned with the functions that the culture of the firm and the functions that they want to perform. I think another thing is that, Raquel and I talk a lot about is like the limiting beliefs, like, why do you think the person you have to see them to make sure that they're working? Like during the pandemic, we all learned that people were working remotely. If they can work down the street, then why couldn't they work across the world and still be able to accomplish the same thing? If you have fast enough internet and you have a private location to work, I mean, why not? And so there's a lot of different parts to this happening. 1, you have to have the right mindset. 2, you have to have the right firm setup. Regardless of where the person is, they should be able to plug in, doesn't matter where. It's not like one system, whether they're in and one that they're out. And so we built that up during the pandemic. And so then when we inserted in virtual assistants, it was so natural. They check in like on the chat as if and they were in the office or they weren't. They communicate the same way, email, phone, they have extensions. They have access to the same case management software.
Right.
And they have same like KPIs and, case statuses and things like that. So it's all doable. I think I should give a little backstory. I ran my law firm from Dubai in 2011 and 12. And so I was the virtual assistant, if you will. Like I was the one in Dubai and my assistant was in Houston. And so ever since that, I realized this is possible. And I just think that the legal field has just been reluctant, like we normally are, to adapt and to get to speed with other industries.
That brings up something I kind of was thinking as you were talking. You, Ruby, are already one of the most system-oriented, organized people in immigration law. It's what you do, to be honest with you. And you were already prepared. Raquel, it seems to me that a law firm needs to be prepared and have some structure in order to best benefit from Stafi's services. There are a lot of immigration attorneys who are not at Ruby's level. What can Stafi do to help law firms get to the level that they can benefit most from Stafi?
So you're right. There's lawyers that come to us and they don't know where to start. That's why when we meet with you for the first time, we lead a free 1 hour consultation where we go through the different 4 areas of work within a law firm, which are marketing, legal work, customer type of work, client facing work, and administrative work. And we have a whole list of tasks within each area that we go through in detail with the law firm owner to understand what is their day packed with. What are the things that you're trying to delegate right now? And then based on that, we come up with what type of profile, what type of soft skills, what type of background, what type of expertise this person needs to have in order to be able to do that role successfully. So what we do to help also is, I was talking about our support, but we have many coaches. So we have a psychologist who's a mindset coach who works with the Stafi representatives behind the scenes to make sure that they have a place to talk about their emotions and what they're going through, because a lot of our clients do work that could be heavy work,
Yep.
right? Like work like immigration or family law. So it's really important to have that space. And we're actually sooner going to implement a wellness coach that we will make it available to our clients as well, where you have a free access to talking to that person to check in, because it's so important. I always say that I am a psychologist myself, and working on your mental health is as important as going to the gym. You need a place to elaborate things that are going on in your personal life, in your job, to make sure that you are aligned, I would say, because that has a direct relation with your performance. So we have all sorts of coaches. We have a time management and task coach who helps the Stafi representative document the processes that are related to their job. So for example, let's say you're a solo or you own a small law firm. You're probably not documenting processes, So we have a coach who helps the person that is assigned to you document the processes. We create mini manuals that will have step by step what that person is supposed to do for each step and all the steps. And those documents are available to the law firm owner to help them grow, not only to make sure that this person that is assigned to your law firm is doing everything they're supposed to and they're following the steps, but for your future hires, that mini manual documentation will help onboard that person faster and easily. It doesn't matter if it's through staff in that second person, third person, fourth person or not, that documentation is available to you.
You help the immigration attorneys build their practice and build their processes. And real talk, this is not like you're talking about mini manuals for immigration processes. You should think about selling those wholesale. I think there's quite a few immigration attorneys who would be very willing to buy what you have created. Those are very valuable things. And you have the repository of all these immigration firms and how they all do things and are getting the ability to see best practices. Ruby, you have 7 staffies. Why 7, and how long did it take for you to get to number 2 after you hired number 1?
Not that long. I think a lot of it was really quickly. there was that whole great resignation or something period. It was really hard to find people. And I'd sort of like had read the tea leaves and realized that I think virtual assistants were going to be the future. And so that's why on my Power Strategy Group webinar, I had interviewed a few virtual assistant companies. And I decided, well, why don't I just try it out? And so the first one was the marketing assistant because my marketing assistant left and I needed one. I really didn't want to have a full-time one. I didn't think I needed one, but Stafi at the time only had full-time staff. And what I did with that was I just sort of gave them different jobs that normally wasn't under the marketing assistant description, but it was still adjacent in terms of like CRM work and data and that type of thing. Then what was the next one? Oh, it was the executive assistant. That one left. They everybody was moving around, like they worked somewhere for like a year or two. And the funny thing is those two people that I replaced with Staffy, the people that the in-person people they replaced, they still work with me part-time. So it's like we're all good. Like it's just that they worked somewhere else and then we still work together. So
that makes you a good employer.
it makes me feel better. I'm not saying all these people left me. People come back, so.
I know one of my initial hesitancies, and I know people are probably thinking it, is Ruby, you know as well as I do that the immigration agencies are still largely paper-based. USCIS's online system is currently garbage, and immigration court is at the, once paper, always paper. How do you deal with the fact that so much of immigration still deals with physical paper?
Okay, well, I have a good answer to that. When my staff told me, my staff leadership was like, you can't get a litigation or court legal assistant who's virtual because they have to do the paper. And I was like, well, I can't find anybody to do the in-person work. So I'm going to have to make this work. And, a lot of what I had to do is just, we have one or two people in the office who are admin, and they are sort of the eyes and ears and to deal with the paper of the virtual team. But there's so much after, has it been 2 years now? Or I don't know,
Yeah.
lost track with ECAS. Well, I mean, with using Staffy, but also with ECAS being virtual, a lot of filings. I mean, my team, wherever they are, they can file it. And there's a bit less and less of our cases we have to run around to the courts.
Right.
And so there really is a workaround. And another thing, going back to like being set up to be virtual, we digitalize as much as possible. In fact, we don't make physical files, very rarely, and we try to be as paperless as possible. So that helps make us more conducive for that. So it didn't take long to see how it would work, but it definitely is a paradigm shift. And I could talk more about that, but each different position, I had to sort of change the way we did things a little bit.
I think that might be a bigger conversation, and you can catch that on your podcast about how you do a paradigm shift at a law firm. But I mean, you're absolutely right. The future, USCIS and Immigration Court, and rightfully so, have said the future is electronic. They're just not entirely there yet, but they're absolutely getting there. And if you shift, you can make it work. What do you think about all that, Raquel?
I wanted to add that absolutely there's things that you need someone to be in person, for example, sending out mail, right? Opening mail and things like that. But most of our clients, what they're doing is that they're hiring a part-time person. It could be even a college student that can work like a couple hours a day, and that would be much cheaper to have. And that person can be in charge of those things that you need someone there physically, such as mail. And then going back to helping set up. I know that there's some listeners that maybe they don't even have an office phone. They're answering from their cell phones.
I personally must separate my cell phone from my other phone, or I'm going to need to hire a Stafi psychologist ASAP. So.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with you. We do have our solution Stafi Live that we can talk about it, but we have our managing partner. He is like a CIO type person with a lot of experience in telecommunications. So we provide that free of charge, that type of consultation to our clients to help them set up the best phone systems, the auto attendant, how it should work. And when you hire a Stafi representative from us, when you hire the service, we also provide a US-based phone number with the area code of your preference. So that's helps makes things easier if this is something new to you.
We'll be right back after some words from the podcast's sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by Driftwood Capital. Driftwood Capital boasts a 30-plus year track record, transacting on more than $3 billion in hospitality assets. Since 2015, Driftwood Capital has successfully implemented the EB5 program into their development deals, helping more than 160 families find a secure path to residency through their projects. Driftwood Capital is a vertically integrated commercial real estate firm specializing in hospitality with dedicated acquisitions, development, lending, and management divisions. Their goal is to create long-term partnerships with its network of more than 1,200 active investors from the United States and abroad, while targeting attractive returns. Driftwood's unique approach involves managing all aspects in-house, from developing renowned hotel brands such as Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt, to managing their portfolio of more than 80 hotels in the United States. If you want to learn more about Driftwood Capital, check out the show notes. And of course, let them know who sent you. We all know the immense dedication that it takes to be an immigration lawyer. You fight tirelessly for your clients, their families, and their future. But let's face it, the administrative side of running a practice can feel overwhelming. Mountains of paperwork, endless calls, juggling deadlines that can steal your focus and leave you feeling burnt out. What if there was a way to simplify all of it? I want to tell you about FileVine, a legal case management platform specifically designed by lawyers for lawyers. FileVine keeps all case information centralized in one place. Its immigration-specific tool, Immigration AI, uses the most advanced AI-powered technology to extract vital information from passports, birth certificates, and other essential documents, and automates USCIS form filling through smart questionnaires available in up to 170 languages. Pretty impressive. FileVine and Immigration AI can give you back precious time and energy, allowing you to focus on what matters most, your clients and their cases. So, if you're ready to reclaim your time and rediscover the joy of practicing immigration law, head over to immigration.ai/immigration review. What is Stafi Live, Raquel?
Stafi Live is a 24/7 live receptionist and intake service that is targeting, it's only for immigration law, where our specialists are trained in immigration. They are highly empathetic individuals. They're fully bilingual. And our goal is to not miss any phone calls for the law firm. So we can be used as a full service. If you don't have a receptionist that is working full time, we can be that service for you. But we also can be used as overflow or whenever your reception is out to lunch or on break or sick, and after hours and weekends, which is very important. Our goal is to schedule the consultations to qualify those callers and to schedule on the lawyer's calendar already qualified consultations only. Ruby is a client of Stafi Live. She uses us for she has a full-time receptionist from Stafi, reception/intake, and she's using Stafi Live for overflow, night and weekends. And last month alone, we answered 77 calls for Ruby. That's after hours and weekends alone. And from those calls, 55 were qualified consultations that were put on their schedule. So it's a service that is different from any service out there because we focus on positioning the law firm, truly understanding the law firm, spelling the name of the law firm correctly, and the specialists who answer the phone, they truly care about who's calling, truly care about, they want to help them. And so it's a win-win. So it's helping the law firm and it's helping whoever's calling to not be, because a lot of people that are calling, they have a full-time job, right? They're calling after hours and weekends. So if we can turn one retainer to you from those calls that right now you're not answering because no one is answering your phone after hours and weekends, I consider that huge in itself.
And Ruby, of the 55 consultations, 35 of the consultations had heard from a cousin who heard from his friend, who heard from his other friend that you can petition for your grandmother, who can then employ you and get you an L visa,
Get a
right?
green card in 2 days, and
That's
everything is wonderful.
because they saw it on TikTok. No, I mean that's that's fantastic. And so Staffy Live's a separate thing.
Yeah, and it's per minute. It's you pay per usage per minute, so which is great. So if you don't have the budget to have a full-time receptionist during work hours, during office hours, you can also rely on Staffy Live.
Ruby, how have you liked Staffy Live? What's been your experience?
Well, it's been great because they're trained, they're bilingual, which most of my callers need something like that. And they are trained in immigration, which is an added bonus. And they've had a lot of training in all those different aspects. We sort of discount who answers the phone. We think they're sort of like the bottom of the totem pole, but that's not the case. I mean, honestly, they need a lot of training. They need to have that special attention and empathy. And it's a lot of times when people hire those companies that like will answer the phone, they're really like glorified voicemail situations where you're just leaving a message. And one thing about Staffy Live, they can also do the calendaring, taking in payments and scheduling consults if you want them to. So there's like added features you can use. I started using them just because my team, they had lunch or evenings, weekends. And if you have your phone covered 24/7, you can say that on Google. And that was one of the things I want on my Google My Business. And also just people don't want to leave voicemails. And if they do, they don't trust that you're going to respond, and then you're going to lose that business. So in this whole not willing to wait for anything society that we have. So those are some of the benefits, and being able to work with them, even though I already work with them with Staffy, it works really, goes hand in hand. So
how do they become qualified though to weed out what is a qualified versus not qualified or beneficial potential intake? How does that work?
Very good question. It's highly customizable per client. So the onboarding of Staffy Live, we sit down with you, our team sits down with the client and understands which cases you take. What are the right questions for each specific case? What do we do if someone calls who has a different type of case that you don't take? Do you want us to refer them to a list of law firms that you want to share with us? We'll do that too. So we learn from you. We have a very comprehensive onboarding where we're going to customize the intake process for your specific law firm. And then after that, about a week after that, we go live. So that's how we learn how to qualify who's calling for your specific law firm.
And of course, it's a give and take. I mean, if they're not asking certain questions or if you want to change it up, then that changes as well. These people become part of your firm in essence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love the Staffy Live because you're not depending on one person. It's the entire team who, what if someone gets sick? What if someone is on vacation? You have that team, you have that coverage 24/7. It's not depending on one individual exclusively.
I mean, Raquel, clearly you're ambitious. You're an entrepreneur. You come from an entrepreneurial family. And this entire world is changing. Where do you see Staffy in 5 years? Because I can only imagine it's not the same as where it is right now in your mind.
Well, I'm not 100% clear yet. We're investing in AI. We're doing some bold moves, and we always believe that we have to envision killing your own business and taking a turn as a true entrepreneur. So we always have that in mind. Don't know exactly what that is, but always the goal is to help as many people as possible, to help other entrepreneurs, other business owners like yourself to grow and to become more successful. That's always going to be my goal.
Ruby, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Trying to convince the Supreme Court that immigration law should remain a thing?
It's sort of funny. I've been doing this so long with, not as long as a lot of other people listening, but I sort of forgot that I was waiting for immigration reform.
The DACA grandparents.
Yeah, I know. I was talking about that.
There are DACA grandparents.
No, I know.
There must be DACA grandparents.
No, the oldest DACA recipient is going to be 43 in June, and there are people who are 43 who are grandparents.
Yeah.
So anyway, I know that by then I will finish my second book, Power Up Your Practice, because I'm supposed to finish it soon. I'm continue to grow Powers Law Group, but definitely I think the world, we sort of mentioned AI a couple of times, but that's really taking things by storm. And I think the virtual assistant, if you haven't set your firm up to take virtual assistants, like you got to get that over with, because you need to be there already, and then you need to be ready for this AI revolution. I went to ABA Tech Show, went to help organize the ALA Tech Summit. Like that's really where we need to put our attention towards. So I think the whole future of the profession is going to be changing this next handful of years or decade, and I just think society's not going to be ready for all the change. So continuing to grow and improve Powers Law Group, grow Power Strategy Group, get my second book out, continue to expand my podcast, Power Up Your Practice, about law practice management, and probably some other business ventures along the way. So we'll see.
All attorneys are marketers a bit at heart. As somebody who has been dipping his toes into that over the last few years, I would just like to say how completely unfair it is that you can use the word power in all of your promotional things. It's so cool. You get your podcast, Power It Up, your books have been empowering, and Power Log. I mean, it's an unfair advantage baked in. But I don't like
Go
one. I don't
change your
like one
name if
bit.
you want to.
It's not. I saw what my wife had to do when we got married. To be honest with you, I think she'd murder me if we changed it again. We had to put an ad in a local newspaper to see if anybody would object in Southern California to her changing her name, as if,
What?
That's funny.
We're talking about AI, and yet there are still processes whereby, you got to promote it in a written newspaper, make sure nobody. Anyway, so let me object that it's not fair that you get to say power in all of your things.
Objection noted, but
And don't
continue doing so.
Don't care. Don't care one bit. Raquel, before we leave, what other things should people know about Stafi and all the cool things you guys are doing?
Know that we truly care about you and your business, and you growing your firm in a healthy way. That's why we provide this entire support around the virtual staff that is assigned to your law firm. I truly care. I love what I do. I have a lot of passion for Stafi. Stafi was my baby. Now Stafi is grown. But, there's the whole support, emotional support, mental health support, practical support that we provide is really with your best interest at heart. And I always tell all of my staff, if we're not helping our clients grow and scale their law firms, we're not doing our job. So it's much beyond assigning you with a virtual Stafi representative. It's truly helping you grow and scale your business. That's what we do. There will be links in the show notes, but for the people who don't read the show notes, how can people reach you, Raquel and Stafi? Through our website, www.stafi.cc. So Stafi as STAFI.cc. What else do you have coming up in the near future? So we have a fun webinar on April 10. I would love, if you're listening to this episode, to connect with me via LinkedIn, Raquel Gomes with an S. I would love to be connected, and that's where I'm going to post the webinars that we're doing. We did a webinar, Ruby and I, last month. We're going to be doing a few series to help people get up to speed in virtual staffing and how to grow and scale their law firms and how to better delegate. We talk also about help people understand what type of leaders they are. So fun topics. Would love to be connected through LinkedIn, and then you can learn all about what it is that we're doing. Gomes with an S if the volume went out a little bit. But most importantly, Raquel, how can people save money on all of these things? What are the promo codes? Okay, so if you're interested in Stafi Live, we're giving 15 free days to use the service, Stafi Live. Just simply go into our website and you can mention that you're interested in our answering service for immigration law firms. And you can use the code HAPPY2024. And for if you are interested in a virtual assistant, a legal assistant, or whatever role that is, you can get $500 off for the first month of service. Same code. Just simply say what you're interested in, which service, and let our team know, and we'll grant that for you.
Thank you for all the information and for coming on the podcast tonight. Now that you guys have a webinar coming out on April 10th, you have given me a firm date whereby I must edit this podcast. So I thank you for that, for giving me the structure that I need to get all of this out. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you both tonight. Raquel, it's always great to see you again. Ruby, it's great to meet you, and hopefully I can meet you in person.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having us, and definitely wanted to meet in person. And thanks for having your podcast and having a valuable resource for immigration attorneys.
Thank you, Kevin. It's been a pleasure and always fun to see you throughout the U.S. in different conferences and catching up. Let's keep it up.
That's right. The conference life. We all know it.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
So there you have it. I'm Kevin A. Gregg, a partner with the law firm Kurzban, Tetzeli, and Pratt, and this has been another episode of Immigration Review. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please share it with a friend and rate and review us. Each review helps new listeners find the show. And of course, subscribe to Immigration Review wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what we do and want to become a patron of the show, please check out our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/Immigration Review or click on the link in the show notes. And if you're interested in an official Immigration Review CLE certificate, email me at kgreg@kktplaw.com with your full name and the episode numbers for the 10 shows you've listened to. Also, feel free to email me with questions, comments, or anything at all, and follow the show on Instagram and Facebook at Immigration Review, or send us a tweet at ImReview, that's IMM Review. I'll be back next Monday for a brand new discussion. Until then, I'm Kevin A. Gregg, bringing you the Immigration Review. Thank you.